Right now, The Daily Show has an amazing montage of the same Republican talking heads that defended Charlie Kirk indefinitely, defending ICE's right to murder a woman backing out of her driveway. So the same people that told us that Charlie Kirk was the greatest person that ever lived and we should never talk anything bad about him or say but or nevertheless or however, and that being said, those same exact people, those same people who said that he is some sort of martyr, he is some sort of like amazing human that we should all like honor, you know, the people in my home state of Kentucky who are trying to make his birthday a national freaking holiday, even though 1 out of every 5 kids is starving in our state. Homelessness is on the rise, poverty is on the rise, the costs of everything is going up, and the minimum wage hasn't changed in Kentucky in decades. Instead of doing the things that actually help, they're trying to make, you know, Charlie Kirk's birthday like a holiday. Make that make sense. These same people are out here going, well, you know, it's horrible that she died, but however, with that being said, like, that's not okay. That is not who we are, and those people are literal hypocrites, and every single one of them needs to be voted out, and we need to get rid of Fox News and all of that BS fake faux news, okay? I'm so over this. We do not live in a country where people should be shot and killed while they're literally backing out of their driveway. And there's no way you can watch all those videos with all the angles and listen to the witnesses and believe that it was some sort of self-defense. That man was in no sort of danger. And JD Vance today is like, well, he has PTSD. That still doesn't give him the right to murder a woman by shooting her multiple times in her face. I feel like we are living in George Orwell's 1984, where we are being told not to believe what we see. Insane.
Footage shows Border Patrol agents detaining leftist protesters in Minneapolis after a confrontation involving a federal vehicle. Officials say agents were inside during the incident. The situation is under investigation.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. And to the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves.
Tell you right now. She was in the car, Renee Nicole Good, 37 years of age, protesting, blocking off the streets. ICE wanted her to move. An officer got in front of the car. Another officer got to the side of the car, and then she tried to take off. And in their eyes, the Christy Gnomes of the world for the Department of Homeland Security, and other folks on the right are saying, oh, they consider it an act of domestic terrorism because she tried to run over an ICE officer. It's not going to be prosecuted. My point is, let's not focus on that for a second, okay? She was wrong to drive off. She should not have done that. She should have got out of her car to prove that she was not going to be any harm, or she should have asked the officer, I'm pulling over, could you move out the way, please? Instead of trying to disregard him totally to the point where you're going to take off and potentially hit him, and he moves out the way and draws his gun and
that woman in Minneapolis, I watched it 4 or 5 times as objectively as possible. And at no time was that shooter's life in any type of jeopardy at all. If anything, you kind of sense and see someone scared. I mean, these people are masked. I don't know if they've identified themselves. This is a scared woman. And the only thing I saw was a murder. I I watched it again and again and again, and he wasn't protecting anything. He wasn't in any danger whatsoever. He shot and murdered this woman. I'm calling it a murder because that's what I saw. Now, you can watch the same thing, and if you see something else, I would love to know. I would love to know what you see with your eyes, because I watched it over and over and over again, and I'm like, why is that person shooting? I can't get over that. I can't get over why. Why are you shooting? I can't come to grips with it. Maybe you can.
Look at this. This is the side of, give me some volume on this. Listen to this. Donald Trump has just posted on Truth Social about today's incident in Minneapolis, saying, quote, "I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but he's now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirety, but the reason that these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are just trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of
your job as a citizen in this country to get in the way of everything that they're trying to do. If you want to change the laws in this country, change the laws in this country, okay? And advocate for that and fight for it and organize around that. But do not go park your car in the middle of the street trying to block ICE agents from being able to do their job. And when they tell you to get out of the car, drive your car forward into them, because it is the natural result that you end up being shot and you lose your life. And that's unfortunate, but the entire situation could have been avoided by, first of all, not showing up in the first place to get in the way of their operation, but secondly, complying with the directive that they gave you. Now we're going to move on to another video. And I recognize this guy. This is Vic Mensa. He makes music. And this is so strange to me, his response to this, but let's watch.
ICE just murdered a woman in Minneapolis. ICE killed a white woman, which is interesting because obviously their rallying cry is defend the homeland. Parentheses against niggas, Mex.
What's up, white people? I needed to sit with this overnight, right? I needed to sit with this overnight because when everything went down, I was very curious as to what the reactions on y'all's end of the field was going to be, right? I started all this by saying everything that happened yesterday should not have happened, right? It was senseless. It was violence at the hands of a police state. It was unnecessary, and it just kind of further shows how far we've fallen as a country. I'm getting a lot of videos on my For You page of people saying, I can't believe this happened, because if this could happen to her, it could happen to me. Yeah. And welcome. You know what I mean? I think it highlights a lot of the frustrations that I've felt over the last year plus when it comes to how we've been dealing with this administration. It's not a game out here. It's just not a game. And I was very, very frustrated with the No Kings March. I was very, very frustrated with it. And I get it. I was talking to somebody last night, and they were saying, well, you know, there is something to the community building and to reach out and touch somebody's hand and say, like, you're not alone in all of this. But at the same time, though, there's also something to letting off steam so that you can go back to the hell that you are living in. And I think that the No Kings protest was a lot of that, because there were no demands. There was no, we need this, we want this, here's what we're going to do. It was just like, no kings! And then we're back at it. And this collective grief that y'all are now feeling is something that Black and brown communities have been feeling for generations, and have only gotten worse on our end. And I'm never going to knock somebody who is trying to join a movement for, when they decide to join the movement. What I will say is maybe there should be an interrogation as to why you care now. Is it because the state isn't supposed to do this to you or to people who look like you? And so when they have broken their unspoken contract with you, it feels different. It feels real. I don't want to say it's because you didn't care about the black and brown bodies before, and now this administration is giving you a face of someone to care about. But there are plenty of black and brown bodies that are in detention centers that have been disappeared, and we don't know where they are. There have been a lot of black and brown bodies that have been brutalized by not just this administration, but previous ones. So welcome, but be cautious, because if everything is done to solve this case and to bring justice to this killer, then it's not done. Just because you find justice doesn't mean justice was found. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. You know what I mean? Just be careful. Truly, all of us, be careful out there. Hold your loved ones closer. Look out for yourselves. Do whatever you got to do to self-care. We're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And if this is your terrible welcome into the fold, welcome. Bring some snacks.
The reaction to the Minnesota tragedy today shows the worst of what our divided politics does to a country. Like, for most of our politicians and social media journalists nowadays, it's worthless to even hear them speak on issues like this, because you already know what they're going to say. Pretty much every single right-leaning person with a microphone saw all the evidence out of Minnesota and came to the immediate conclusion it was self-defense, while every single left-leaning person with a microphone watched the same exact videos and heard the same exact story and said it was murder. Now, beyond even talking about who's right or wrong, can we all just come to the conclusion that that type of thinking is just beyond shallow? Like, are we living in different realities, different worlds? Does the right-leaning brain perceive the world objectively different than the left-leaning brain? I mean, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I don't think so. We're all Americans. We're all humans. My eyes see the same vision you see, and my brain can understand the criminal statute of murder for self-defense the same as yours. But something, and I think we can all feel it, is seriously wrong with America today, whether it be the algorithms or just the divided nature of our national politics, whatever. Something is pushing too many of us towards extreme bias to where we only see the facts that advance our ideology. And when you have that on a massive scale, you lose the ability to even talk to each other because everyone's mind is already made up. There's no debate. There's just a battle of who can spread their ideology to more people. I just think a free thinker not captured by the biases of ideology looks at this tragedy in Minnesota today and first off is sobered by it. A mother of three lost her life in an instant, and no matter what, that in of itself is a tragedy. But beyond that, just fundamentally the line between self-defense and murder has always been a blurry one and a hard thing for all societies ever to define, as a lot of it depends on whether or not internally the shooter actually feared for his life or not, or whether or not that fear was reasonable. There's a reason why criminal verdicts aren't decided in hours, because these are hard questions and a lot of evidence we don't see yet likely exists. But because of the political state of our world, the divided state of our country, too many people only need one video and their mind is made up. We need to bring back some critical thinking.
She's moving at 3 miles per hour when he decided to shoot her, in my personal opinion. So that's where I'm at. I think both sides are wrong, and I think that there probably should be accountability. Or, like, that can't be the go-to for training. I saw Kristi Noem try to say, oh, well, this is what they're trained to do. That cannot be the go-to. It cannot be the go-to that you just immediately jump out of your car, rush some woman who stopped in the street, try to reach into her vehicle, yank her out of her car, and then shoot her in the face when she panics. That ain't it, guys. And so what's going to happen from here? I'm sure we're going to see massive protests, probably riots. And Minneapolis just can't catch a break, huh? I guess this is actually about a mile away from where the George Floyd events happened as well. Also, what's going on with the big Somali fraud schemes and all that. Minnesota is struggling right now for sure. But again, guys, I would say just try to have a little bit of empathy, right? There's a child that no longer has parents right now. And at a minimum, we should not be cheering on government agents shooting unarmed U.S. civilians in the face in the middle of neighborhoods. So that's my personal opinion on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Obviously, very emotionally charged topic, but that'll do it for this one. Catch you on the next one.
The U.S. Border Patrol, which should intuitively be on the border, has apprehended this dude who happens to be in Minnesota, and he was just telling them, you just unalived someone, and they're asking him all sorts of questions, including, well, your accent is not from here, and he was like, so you're going by accent. I would just like to remind the U.S. Border Patrol, which again should be on the border, that the first person they should arrest should be the First Lady, because her accent is quite strong and her English is very poor. This dude is very eloquent. He might have a little bit of an accent, but he's very, very eloquent. There were at least 20 Border Patrol officers surrounding his car. An Uber driver innocently sitting there scrolling on his social media until he got apprehended by a lady with a GoPro camera. Now, usually the police should have body cams because they could not delete the footage. That camera, the footage could be deleted easily and manually. You know which other country has Border Patrol inside? Guinea. Everywhere is Border Patrol. Everywhere. They can just stop you and ask you for money. You know who else is corrupt? Have a good day.
I mean, completely. Instead of restoring order, excuse me, my allergies right here. Ooh, come on, not now. But like I was saying, instead of restoring order, they side with the mob. Instead of backing law enforcement, they sit there and tell federal agents to leave. That's not leadership, by the way. That's surrender. And now let me show you the part that they definitely color test. No accent test, no guessing, just paperwork. That's it. But when you interfere, when you block vehicles, when you challenge the law physically, call it consequences. Yes, sir. Here's the truth that they won't say out loud. A country without borders is chaos. A city without law is fear, okay? And leaders who side with mobs, they're always going to lose control. ICE didn't break Minneapolis. Weak leadership actually did that. So if you made it to the end, I want you to comment American AF, in the U.S. flag if you can, because I know it's hard. I don't have the U.S. flag emoji. What about you? Let me know. I want to know who actually understands what's going on. Y'all be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.
It's surreal. It's overwhelming. We just keep getting the hits, right? And it's hard because as a community, you're still grieving, right? Annunciation, you're grieving George Floyd, and now this. And it's just like, okay, so we're just going to be in a constant state of anxiety and recovery, and you don't ever get a chance to catch your breath and move on from the last tragedy. It's like, okay, let's have another one. What else do you have for us? Yeah, it's just really frustrating to feel like the government doesn't care. They don't acknowledge what is happening to us as a community. And it's our fault. We're the bad guys. And it's like, no, why are you even here? We're not the bad guys. You should be on our side. You should be for us.